So today is session 3. It's not as much material in this session. So what I thought I would like to do with your agreement and permission is to, if everyone could please mute themselves, that would be good too. There is an absolutely gorgeous meditation on the 8 verses of thought transformation in the context of the Buddha Chenrezig Avalokiteshvara. So I thought I'd like to do that today. I think everyone here is experienced enough in visualization to be able to do that quite nicely. So today's session is on the mindfulness of thoughts. So it seemed to me appropriate. It's not in the course, but I really want to add it because I think it just makes it a little bit more interesting for people, And the 8 verses of thought transformation are part of the Lam Rim, and a very important reminder also because we were talking last week about distractions and obstacles and things like that. It's an important reminder to use our introspection, which we looked at last week, to decide whether the thoughts inside our head are serving us, whether they're useful or not, and whether they're even correct. So, a lot of the times we have these thoughts that arise in our mind and they're just based on nothing. I mean, honestly, if you actually to look at the reality of them, we get caught up we're not present. We get caught up in the future, we get caught up in the past, or we make up stories in our head. And, I think I hear about all these, in difficult situations in families where, someone gets angry with someone based on some thought they've had and they take an action that ends up having enormous consequences, whether it's a financial action or a physical action. And usually it's based on a misunderstanding, something as simple as that. And it would be really good if everyone could be taught to work on their minds from a little person, from a little child, and then I think the world would probably be a little bit better. Okay, so let's just, before we start the actual course or the contents of the course, what I would like to do is help everyone to sort of settle their minds. So, where there are, if anyone's done the Meditation 101, there's 4 stages to your meditation practice. So there is the settling the getting the body right, settling the body, settling the mind. So we can start with the body, and that is the feet. If your feet are down or you're at a desk and they're flat on the floor, make sure they're about a hip's width apart, your knees about a hip's width apart, your shoulders are aligned with the hips. And imagine the spine is a string of pearls of light stretching from the base all the way up through the crown of the head and beyond. And just lengthen that spine. Put some space in between the vertebrae. And just put a little bit of length in the back of the neck. Align the shoulders with the hips, the ears with the shoulders as best you can. So we just try and keep the head from pulling our shoulders forward. We don't want the head's very, very heavy. So the further forward it is out of alignment with your spine, the greater the stress on the spine. And that in turn affects the brain, the functioning of the brain as we age. So as we age, gravity takes over and we start anyway to slump. So whatever we can do as we're getting older to kind of stay reasonably fit and healthy and strong, and to remember to stand tall, as the little sign is at my chiropractor's office, the better off we're going to be. And don't forget to breathe. And then just go to the crown of the head. Relax the scalp and the forehead, the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, the mouth, the jaw, the back of the tongue. Relax the back of the head, back of the neck, and allow those shoulders and shoulder blades just to drop down. Relax the throat and the chest and the belly and all of your limbs. And you notice the sensation of the air as you're inhaling and exhaling, this air that's flowing in and over through those little hairs inside the nose. It's a little bit cooler as you inhale, a little bit warmer as you exhale. And so if you're feeling a little ungrounded today, some unsettling is happening, you can just really bring your attention back to the feet, back to the breath, back to the belly, whatever works for you. And be aware of sounds in your environment. Just allow them to be there. Just keep an eye on what's going on in the mind. Just notice what's there. So we are going to be looking a little bit at mindfulness of thoughts today. So we use our introspection to check whether those thoughts are valid, whether they are of any service to us. And then just look at them objectively, just observe. And then we'll just do a little bit about this equanimity meditation, that just, again, noticing that loved one that you have. So Millie, you've just lost a loved one. So you can just still imagine that person. She may not have, the consciousness might still be around. You can bring her to your mind. And then there's, we all have different types of loved ones. And then there's those ones we don't like so much. And then there's our strangers, remembering they can all change place at any time, these relationships. And they're all equal. They have this wish to be free from suffering and having this extraordinary capacity for Buddhahood. They all want to be happy as well. So I think we'll do, and this is the second part of meditation session, is your motivation, your, as they say in yoga, the bhavana, for those of you who do yoga. So your intention, your motivation. Motivation and intention are slightly different. Your intention is, I am going to get up and walk out the door. The motivation is because I need to go get something to eat. But, we motivate here. We intend to stay and focus for the whole couple of hours. And then the motivation is so we can, benefit our minds, so we can be a benefit to others. And then comes the actual meditation session. And then comes the dedication at the end. So we'll do that. So these according to your skill level, according to the time you have, these parts of this structure to your meditation practice will expand, grow, change. So before we start, I'd like to do some 9-round breathing. This is always very, very good to center ourselves, to bring ourselves into some form of balance and to ground ourselves. But before we start, I'd like to just do a very short breath meditation of just breathe in for a count of 4 and pause at the top of the breath. And then you exhale for a count of 4. We'll just do this for about a minute or so. So now we'll start our 9-round breathing. So I'll guide you through the first round of 3. And then we can do the next 2 rounds in our own time. So you start by, and you can do the balanced inhalation, exhalation. So you're probably already noticing a bit of settling of the mind. And, if you're not, just notice using your introspection what is taking your mind away. Then just very gently bring it back. So breathe in. You can close the left nostril very gently with the back of the right index finger and breathe in, perhaps for a count of 4, blissful, radiant, white light that fills your lungs, fills your whole body. And you pause at the top of the breath and then exhale through the left all of your attachment and grasping and neediness, unhealthy desire. Just exhale that as thick, black, yucky smoke. And do that 2 more times. And then breathe in through the left nostril, blissful, radiant, white light. And breathe out through the right all your anger and sort of disappointments and jealousies, bitterness and grudges. You breathe that out as thick, black, yucky smoke. Really try and get rid of it. This kind of energy is very destructive and very disturbing. And breathe in through the left, beautiful light. And breathe out through the right, all your anger. Breathe in and exhale. Now breathe in through both nostrils, blissful, radiant white light, and you can pause at the top of the breath for a moment, just like a suspension at the top of a swing almost. And then exhale all your ignorance energy. And this is, in terms of the Buddhist practice, this is really not understanding or appreciating karma, cause and effect, this natural law that we're all under. And then also not really appreciating or understanding the way things truly exist. And here they're referring to this concept of emptiness. So breathe in, blissful, radiant white light. Pause at the top of the breath and then exhale all your ignorance energy. So now we'll do 2 more sets and we can do them in our own time. So starting by inhaling through the right nostril. And now just feel, notice the difference. And this was just such a simple and easy meditation. It's something you can actually do in about 5 minutes. I spent quite a bit of time settling us here. But you can do this on your own quite quickly, and it has huge beneficial effects. So stay in the meditation, and I'll just, you can use this as I'm speaking, you can just use this as an analytical meditation. So many people have this idea of mindfulness meditation as a way to actually stop the thoughts. And this is really an impossibility if you consider the mind as a continuity of consciousness. There's no stopping thoughts because everything that we do, we feel, we think, our sensations in our body, this all requires processing. And so through with this idea of mindfulness and introspection, so as we're learning to meditate and as we're moving further and further into our meditation, we become a little bit more conscious of the thoughts, of the presence of the thoughts. And, when we first start this, it might become a little bit disturbing. But we can also start to learn how to discern between the different types of thought processes, thinking that is functional and useful versus thinking that is dysfunctional and maladaptive. So when we're thinking functionally, we're thinking kind of clearly and with wisdom, and without too much, reactivity perhaps. We can navigate through different life situations and how work out best to proceed. For example, we need to figure out the next step of the meditation, or we need to figure out the next step of our lives. Our dysfunctional thinking, on the other hand, tends to be this kind of habitual, involuntary, it's part of our reactive habits to circumstances in our life. So when we, for example, get distressed over an imaginary future scenario, we make up all kinds of stuff in our mind. And these involuntary and dysfunctional thoughts are what keep us kind of stressed. When you get disturbed sleep, and it sort of sustains this kind of agitation and nervousness and tension in our body and mind. So the way to work with this through this structure of mindfulness is when your introspection, or when you start to detect the arising in the presence of compulsive involuntary thinking, and honestly, it can sometimes take half an hour before you realize you've gone down some ridiculous rabbit hole. And then gradually it'll take you less and less time to realize where your mind's gone. So if, say, for example, during a mindfulness meditation, you've got this compulsive and involuntary thinking, you've gone off on a tangent somewhere, you can just acknowledge to yourself that your attention was drawn into thinking that way. And in the practice of mindfulness of breathing, the natural out breath offers us an excellent opportunity to release this kind of thinking and release all these thoughts that don't really serve us from our attention. And you can think of it as the same way in which we release carbon dioxide from our lungs. We're releasing something that's kind of toxic for us. And we can reinforce this idea by reminding ourselves with the magic word release in our own mind when we notice an out breath, and returning our attention once again to the breath sensations. And this is one way of cultivation, the cultivation of mindfulness in stabilizing meditation. And it can benefit us even in the early stages of practice of mindfulness. We nurture our mindful focus on a specific object of meditation, such as bodily sensations in the body scan or breath sensations in mindfulness of breathing, and the practice to release unnecessary physical tensions can kind of calm all that agitation, especially those thoughts that are arising due to this compulsive involuntary thinking. And it's a really good way to help us perhaps start to reverse the negative effects of chronic stress reactivities, these reactions that we have. Even when we sort of say to ourselves, we drop something on our toe and, oh gosh, Katie, that was so stupid. These are words that we need to change. So when we're cultivating mindfulness, when we're looking at what's going on in the mind, when we're able to sort of release some of these more toxic traits that are so disturbing to us, we are better able to focus. We're better able to concentrate. And this enables us to feel a little bit more harmonious in the functioning of the body and the mind. So if you want to have a little wriggle, you can. We're going to do the mindfulness of breathing meditation that we did last week. And so maybe if you'd like to take a drink of water before we start, you can. Okay, let's just settle back into your meditation. Some of that water went down the wrong way. Excuse me. So just again, check your body. Shoulders aligned with the hips, feet placed comfortably on the floor or in a cross-legged position. And notice areas of softness and ease and relaxation and comfort. And just try and acknowledge them for the time being. Just allow ourselves to enjoy them while they're there. And then you might also notice areas of tightness, tension, and uncomfortable feelings, and also just acknowledge them. And don't feel that you need to change anything, unless, of course, you're in pain. And then you do what you need to do. Now check the sensations at your face, and are you tensing up any facial muscles? Those at the forehead, around the eyes, or at the jaw? And can we relax these muscles and let a different feeling, one of softness and ease and comfort, into our face? And can you allow this softening and relaxation to spread on its own to the rest of the body, helping our body to settle into meditation in its own time? among the different bodily sensations, see if we can highlight those sensations associated with breathing. You might notice some subtle sensations around our nostrils when we can feel the air flow in and out of the body. Those little hairs moving backwards and forwards. Others might notice the movement of the chest, expansion and contraction. And also, if you're there, notice how this is a 360-degree movement. This is not just the chest moving up and down, the sides of the ribs, the back. There's ribs that move at the back when you breathe. Some might notice the rising and the falling of the abdomen. And just rest your attention on some of these breath sensations and allow yourself to fully experience your in-breath and your out-breath. And here we can, if you wish, you can make a 4-count in-breath. Maybe you can extend your exhale to 6 to see what you can do. And as you're inhaling, try not to lift the shoulders up. Expand the lungs instead. So rest your attention here with your breath, and each time you notice yourself exhaling, we can use this as an opportunity to releasing anything unhelpful, unwanted, just as the way we exhale in order to let go of the stale air in our lungs, carbon dioxide in our lungs, this exchange of oxygen. And if we wish, you can say to yourselves this guiding word release in your mind each time you notice an out-breath. And this is to remind yourself that we don't need to hold on to unnecessary tightness and contraction. It's also to remind us that we can let go of thoughts and memories and fantasy that preoccupy us. We can also release states of dullness and drowsiness, allowing them to flow away with the out-breath. But we're not forcing anything to happen. We're not pushing anything away. And when we notice that our attention is distracted elsewhere or is feeling drowsy, just simply invite it to come back to the breath and release on the out-breath. So I'm going to have us meditate like this for 5 minutes. It's not very long, but it's definitely long enough for us to allow our minds to wander here, there, and everywhere. So just notice at what point your mind starts to wander off. And even if it's after only like a few seconds, it's like, uh-oh. Then release that distraction, release those thoughts, release the fantasy. And come back and try and bring yourself back to the present moment. Somehow we don't like to be in the present. I don't know why. It's very interesting. Okay, so And if you're someone who likes to visualize, you can actually even visualize as you release. You can maybe have your thoughts have these things in a little, maybe a helium balloon, and just release it. And then you just watch it float away. Or you can maybe pile your little thoughts up on a little white cloud and release that, let that float away. If you can even imagine putting your thoughts on a leaf, an autumn leaf in a little stream, and just releasing that down the stream. So whatever works for you. I mean, the word release might be enough. Everybody, just relax. Open your eyes slowly in your own time. Just feel the weight of the sits bones in the chair, your feet on the floor if that's where they are, and your hands in your lap as you gradually come back. And just feel, just open your eyes when you're ready. And how's everyone doing? Anybody have anything they want to share? Anybody have anything they'd like to express or share or say? Oh, I noticed my friend Phyllis isn't here today. Okay. Nothing. Where'd Rachel go? Oh, Rachel's not here either. Mina, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I was just putting on my glasses.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Nobody? Nothing? Okay. It's so funny. This group is so quiet. Okay. I have this other meditation group at the Meditation 101 at Tukta Nobeling, and people are actually quite chatty in that. All right. Gita, did you have anything you wanted to share? Gitu, sorry.
No, thank you.
No, okay. All right. Okay. So is all of this making sense? Is it useful? It is? Okay. At least you're nodding your head. Because if it's not, you need to let me know. Okay. I have to report back. All right.
I think I would have a comment.
Sorry?
I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a difficult time doing this by myself.
Oh, yeah.
This
You're not
works.
the only one.
This works for me. This guided.
In a group? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's really hard. And this is why Lama Yeshe would always say that us Westerners probably can't do this for more than 5 minutes at a time. And there's a reason for that, because we've all got things on our mind. We're not living in a monastery where everything's been taken care of for us, and all you have to think about is what time am I going to have to get to the dining room. We have, a lot of things. And, since I've been living more in the lay community for the last 2 years, there's a lot for people to have to deal with, on a day-to-day basis. Relationships, family, shopping, bills, many different kinds of changes throughout their lives. And, there's not a huge amount of time for practice. And that seems to be something that's really only available to people who have freedom in terms of time, or they have reasonable amount of financial freedom. So, it's not an easy thing to have the space to have a meditation that is not distracted by stuff. Yeah. And I can really appreciate that now much more, I think, than I did before. So, yeah. Me included. But I've always had difficult time. When I did this year-long retreat on Kangaroo Island in Australia. And I tell you, I was doing the last retreat. It was quite an intense one. It was, lots of mantras, and it was a, kind of a medium size. They have the regular retreats, which are like 100,000 mantras, and then they have the middling one, which is 400,000, and then they have the long one, which takes 3 years. And I was doing the middling one. And of course, I was in Dr. Adrian, who's, I don't know if any of you knew him. He's Gyatso. He's a very tall, quite well-known Australian monk who's written quite a few books. But anyway, I ended up in his house, and he had a beautiful garden outside, and he was growing all kinds of really nice flowers. And I thought, oh, this is so good. And, he was growing lilies and all kinds of things that I could offer to the altar because, being Australia, it's, summer, it's hot. There's, we had a few flowers, but it's the bush. So, not many. So then as the flowers started to grow, the possums grew very interested in the flowers. So then I'd sit there in my meditation thinking, how am I going to keep the possums out? And so then I ordered some chicken wire, which is, I don't know what you call it here, but it's wire with, little holes in it. And I had just staked it in the ground, and I was so proud I made this fence. I thought, oh, they'll never get in now. And so no, what they did was they somehow climbed up the tree, and they crawled along the branch and wrapped their tail around the branch of the tree, turned themselves upside down, and ate the flowers that way. So then I had to put a lid on the fence. So then I spent a lot of my time meditating, thinking ways of my next project out in the garden. And then, of course, we had a fish pond, and the possums were fishing as well. So I had to somehow try and protect the fish. And so there was this whole ecosystem around me. And then there was birds nesting, and I was watching them learn how to fly. And there was great big kangaroos lying on the ground as I go for my walk, and I was kind of stepping over snakes. And so it was a kind of an interesting integration, but with the environment there. Extremely beautiful, but in a way also quite distracting, and was very, I didn't have people to talk to, but I was certainly engaging with the wildlife that was there. And the kangaroos would come and visit. And so all I'm saying is, even with the most perfect conditions, they weren't necessarily perfect. It's a very windy place. And I think Venerable Gyatso said that should he do a meditation there again, he would dig a hole in the ground and go in there, because that's how noisy it was. And that's what they used to do in Tibet. They would dig. I think even Lama Zopa Rinpoche's previous incarnation, him and his attendant, they dug a hole. There's actually places that you can find up there where they've dug a hole or like something into the side of the hill and gone in, because there's absolutely no sensory information coming in there. They're in the dark. It's quiet, very, very quiet. And up in Laudo, it is extremely quiet. And in fact, also one of the other things you need is a place that's blessed by previous meditators. And that's not easy for us to find here in the West. So I found up at Laudo Gompa, I would walk into the Gompa, like Rinpoche's cave, and I would sit there, and it was just amazing how fast I could settle into meditation. I was kind of dumbfounded at how quick it was and how easy I was able to concentrate. So I don't know. I think it's not, John, it's not easy here. That's all. And I think, even if you can just do 5 minutes or 2 minutes, the fact that you even want to sit down and start to meditate, that's something. So just don't give yourself too much of a hard time.
It helps me to not get so distracted, because I find that I get distracted easily. So that's why I like doing it.
It's a little bit of a circle, isn't it? Yeah. But I think also too, you can get in touch with yourself a little bit more, because we're all such external people. We're always forward thinking, we're outgoing, we're moving forward, all these kind of expressions that we have. Oh, gosh, why can't we just sit and be present? And myself, this is when we get in person. Can you guys come to the last session? I think it's going to be on the 17th. I might have to change the date, but are you able to come to the last session? Because I want to do another Tai Chi Cha practice with everyone. This open-eyed moving meditation I find very helpful, because I do like to move the body a bit, and I like to practice yoga as well. And I find a bit of exercise like that really does help to settle the mind as well. It's actually, it can inform the practice. Even just walking in nature can be a meditation as well. So, but don't close your eyes while you're walking. All right. Okay, we're going to look now, unless anyone, oh, where are we? Oh, 1 sec. I lost myself. We're going to go into a little bit of discerning wisdom now. Does anyone else have anything they want to share, talk about, mention? Nothing? Okay. So they talk about wisdom in our tradition a lot, developing wisdom. And it's not like the wise old sage kind of wisdom. It's really about discernment. And this is a mental quality that clearly discerns good qualities and flaws of an object under examination. So, I mean, for example, someone who is an antique dealer would know the difference between a fake painting and a real one. And that is that level of wisdom that they have. Well, the ultimate level of wisdom would be like, say, for example, you would go and ask Lamsa Rinpoche a question, and he would try and determine, using his wisdom, what would be the best thing for you to do. So we need wisdom on many different levels. So mindfulness helps us to hold our attention on an object and enables us to facilitate sort of an investigation and analysis. And we'll come to a conclusion, for example, regarding an object. So we've decided it's not a fake, and the painting is not a fake painting, and mindfulness familiarizes with that conclusion to deepen our understanding and knowledge of that object. And one reason we have such a hard time putting aside our compulsive involuntary thoughts that disturb our body and mind is because our attention is caught up in the contents of these thoughts. And we mistake it for being the reality of the moment. So we are confused, and we come to believe that our thoughts about the past are actually still somehow happening right now. We get lost in our thoughts about a future scenario, and we react to it as if it's real. We think it's happening now. And we don't realize that our attention is already involved in this kind of thinking and is no longer in touch with whatever is actually happening in the present moment. So with mindfulness and discerning wisdom, we can learn to differentiate between the different types of objects our mind engages in. Well, excuse me, I have to change my position. Such as sensing different tactile sensations, including the breath and hearing sounds, thinking in words and images and so on. So we're not actually aware so much of the power of our thinking. You know, Lama Yeshe used to talk about it all the time. You do have the power. I think we underestimate the power of our thoughts. We're not really even aware of the power of the compulsive involuntary thinking. I think we can just think what we like and then it doesn't impact our mind stream, but it actually does. So that we really believe in without questioning and following through with things. And by training ourselves in the meditation on mindfulness of thoughts, we begin the process of recognizing that we are involved in thinking and learn to identify thinking as thinking. Discerning thoughts as just thoughts helps us to put the contents of those thoughts into perspective. So we might realize that what we're thinking might not necessarily be correct or true. So I think all of us struggle with self-critical, judgmental thoughts. So we need to learn to regard all of these self-judgments in our thinking as just thoughts and not reality. Because if you start to believe somehow that you're stupid or you can't do, or you've been doing this for so long and everyone's so much better than me, I mean, it's just useless. It's not helpful. Developing this skill of mindfulness and discerning wisdom with regards to thoughts can go a long way to relieve us from the stress and distress brought on by our compulsive involuntary thoughts. So we're going to do another meditation on the mindfulness of thoughts now. And we want to, maybe a quick motivation is that we're going to take time now to meditate and develop our mind to become a wiser and kinder person so we can be of benefit to all beings. And we want to become a wiser and kinder person also to ourselves. So allow your spine to be in a natural and comfortable position. You can think about when I say lengthening, I don't mean that we would want to be sitting straight up and down. Your spine does have natural curves, but we just don't want to be slumped over. We want to be nicely aligned. So you can rest your hands on either arms of a chair or in your lap. Allow your shoulders to be relaxed. And you can keep your eyes closed, or if you'd like, you can just crack your eyes open slightly if you're starting to feel drowsy. This lets a little bit of light in. And then one way to stop the mind from being dull, also, if you're starting to feel a little bit low, just imagine you're about to break into a smile. Just return your attention now to your body and be in touch with the simple sensations here in order to settle back into meditation. And so notice the areas of softness and ease and relaxation and comfortable feelings. Can we welcome these feelings and allow ourselves to enjoy them while they are here? And notice areas of tension, tightness, or discomfort. Can we simply acknowledge them for the time being? Maybe you don't need to change them unless, of course, you're in some extreme discomfort or pain. Just let them be. Check in with the sensations at your face. Are you tensing up any facial muscles? And just release tension around the eyes, the jaw, the mouth, the forehead, the temples. And can you gently relax these muscles and let in a different feeling, one of softness and ease and comfort, into your face? And just allow this softening and relaxing to spread on its own to the rest of the body and help our body to settle into meditation in its own time. And among the different bodily sensations, see if we can highlight those sensations associated with breathing. Some of us will notice the subtle sensations around our nostrils, and where we can feel the air flow in and out of the body. Others might notice movement of the chest, expansion, contraction of the ribs at the side and the back of the body. Some people might feel the rise, notice the rising and the falling of the belly, or just the pressure on the belt you might have around your waist. So just for a moment, rest your attention on some of these sensations of the breath and allow yourselves to fully experience the in-breath and out-breath. just rest your attention here with the breath. And then again, we'll just repeat what we've just done. Each time you notice yourself exhaling, you can use that as an opportunity to release, releasing anything unhelpful or unwanted. And you can use any of those visualizations if they were helpful. Releasing. Just notice something that's coming up in your mind that maybe is not useful in the current moment. Just say the word release. Imagine floating down a stream if you wish. Regard your breath as a resting place for your mindful attention. Maybe it's like that bench on the trail. You can always come back at any time to sit down and rest, to steady ourselves. And when your introspection alerts you to the presence of thoughts, or thoughts that we're already involved in thinking, we can turn our mindful attention to those thoughts and recognize that we are engaged in thinking. We might want to mentally make a note, thinking, to be clear about what we've discerned. And without getting entangled in the contents of those thoughts, we can gently return our attention to the breath and release those thoughts on the out breath. So now we have two things to think about here: release and thinking. So your introspection, you notice that you're thinking, you can just say, label it, I'm thinking. If there's anything unhelpful or unwanted, you can just release. And when we recognize our attention is drawn into thinking, take note of it as thinking and come back to the breath. So now we'll just practice this for 5 minutes. Everyone just relax. Have something to drink if you need to. And wanting to hear how everyone's doing. And you can stay in meditation if you wish. Anybody have anything they want to share? I might start calling on people. Okay, so I think what I want to do, it's we've come really to the end of that session 3. I'd like to give you some homework, and then we'll do this 8 verses of 8 verses of thought transformation. And this will be in the context of chin raising. I tried to get my Avalokiteshvara Tanka behind me here, but it wouldn't stay up on the wall, so it's on the bed. But I'll give you another. I'll give you another one. So one of the things I'd like you guys to do between now and next week, I think we're meeting again on the 3rd, right? On Zoom on the 3rd, yeah. So is to practice, even just do 2 or 5 minutes of meditation sessions, even just one a day. And in that 5-minute period, notice when you started thinking and just say to yourself, oh, I'm thinking. So it's objective. It's no judgment, no criticism about what it is you're thinking. Just notice that you started thinking. And then you can actually say to yourself, release. So just release the thoughts. So just do, in that meditation, just do those 2 things. Notice that you're thinking. And I think next week we go into a little bit more detail about what it is we're thinking. Talks about whether you're planning or whether you're future tripping or whether you're whatever you're doing. So just that, those 2 things, 5 minutes, that's all. Or 2 minutes. If 5 minutes is too much, do 2 minutes. If 2 minutes is too short, do 3. So one of the suggestions is don't meditate longer than you're enjoying it. So what you need to do is stop meditating when you feel that you're just doing a great meditation. That's where you stop. And then you get up from your cushion, and then you won't feel like you don't want to go back there again. So if you finish a little early, while you're feeling enthusiastic about what you've done, you're more likely to come back to the cushion. But if you kind of push it, you say to yourself, I'm going to do this for an hour, you're going to spend probably 45 minutes of that hour wishing you weren't there. So I think you might want to keep it a little bit shorter, but also that's the sage advice from the lamas, is stop before you've stopped enjoying it. So kind of get off the cushion before you've stopped enjoying yourself. Okay, so there's that. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to share this beautiful little image. I took this photo. Lama Zopa Rinpoche told me to go up to Drup Top Rinpoche's monastery in Swayambhu, on Swayambhu Mountain, and he told me the story about this statue. The statue's kind of magic. And it's got an interesting little smile on its face. Anyway, this is Thousand Arm Chin Raising with many heads and many arms and many hands. The story I think about the Bodhisattva was, it was crying because he wasn't able to help many people, and then he developed thousand arms, so he could help many, many people all at once. Anyway, that's part of the story. But there's also some story about how the statue disappeared, and then it came from Tibet. I'm not sure how. Only one day it sort of disappeared. I think one of the monks saw a statue maker down at Boda and sort of said, you know, my statue's broken. Can you help me fix it? And this guy said, yeah, sure. And then when he got to the statue maker's shop, there was the statue. He said, that's mine. Something. I don't know. Anyway, some strange story went down. I have to try and get that story correct for you, I think. But they talk about these statues talking and flying and all this kind of stuff. But it's kind of powerful. It's quite big. They do a lot of nune up at that monastery. So this is what they use. All right. So let's just settle back into our meditation posture. So this is the 8 verses of thought transformation. So you don't need to read them. You just need to listen. So there'll be a little visualization with it as well. So we can think, it's not enough merely to ensure that I avoid suffering in this and future lifetimes in terms of my practice. I must become completely free from cyclic existence and the endless round of death and rebirth. But this too is inadequate. How can I attain the bliss of liberation, leaving behind all other living beings? Every sentient being has been my mother, not just once, but many times in my previous lives, and each has cared for me just like my present mother. And just think of the kindness of your present mother and all that she's done for you from the time you were born. All the things she avoided eating in order to keep you healthy when you were inside her. All the discomfort that she endured as you came to term. And for those of you who've had children, you would understand what that was like for your own mother. And think that all beings have been as kind as your own mother. And I have depended upon them for all the happiness I've ever experienced, all the food I eat, the clothes I wear, the books I read, the shelter I have, all the music, movies, and other pleasures I enjoy come to me through the kindness of others. You know, and you could say, oh, but I pay for that car. Yes, but someone in their kindness designed it. Someone in their kindness ensured that the road you drove that car on was decent enough to drive on. Because believe me, when you go to Nepal, to have a car there, to own a car there is extremely expensive because of the road tax. But do they take care of the roads? No, they don't. It's a mess over there. So all the money that you pay to the government to keep the roads updated goes into their pockets. So we need to be grateful for this society that we live in, where there's a few guardrails in place. At the moment, all of these kind sentient beings are experiencing suffering, and out of ignorance are creating the causes for future misery. So recall the lives of your loved ones, the people you know, the friends, relatives, and neighbors, and what problems, physical and mental, are they experiencing. And just like you, they don't want problems, they don't want pain. And just like you want happiness and peace of mind, so do they. But they don't have any solutions. They don't have methods that we have using, you know, these Dharma practices. So just feel lucky that we have this. And so enlightenment doesn't come without causes and conditions. And principal cause is loving kindness and compassion. And therefore, I think I'll practice a profound teaching on training the mind in bodhicitta. So the first step in developing bodhicitta is this practice that we did at the very beginning of the meditation, and that is, you know, thinking about equanimity, the friend, the enemy, and the stranger. So now you can imagine above At the level of your forehead, about a body's length away, is Avalokiteshvara, this 1,000-arm Chenrezig, this Buddha of compassion. So this statue is metal. So you can maybe imagine, rather than this metal solid thing in front of you, this statue, something similar. And if all that detail is difficult for you, just imagine it as a light body in front of you, just radiating light. This powerful, blessed image in front of you. You can also imagine it's a mind of your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. So this body in front of you is of pure white lights and radiates rainbow light of 5 colors: white, red, blue, green, and yellow. So just imagine this light pouring out from him in all directions. He has this gentle smile and looks at you and all other beings without any critical thought whatsoever, just love and compassion. And amongst those 1,000 arms, he has 4 arms. The 4 main arms you see in the regular Chenrezig practice. And the hands of the first 2 are held together at his heart and hold this wish-fulfilling jewel. And the other right hand holds a crystal rosary, and the other left a white lotus. And he's seated. This image is standing. And he's surrounded, you can imagine this aura of light around him as well. And he's wearing these exquisite silken clothes in the Royal Indian style, precious jeweled ornaments. And they talk about an antelope skin covering his left shoulder and breast. And the entire visualization, this image is light. We can do the 7 in practice. Just listen as I recite. Reverently I prostrate to Guru Avalokiteshvara with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. Because of the merits of myself and others, may the 2 bodhicittas ripen, and may I receive the great enlightenment for the sake of all beings. So just imagine, you can imagine you're offering all the beautiful things of the universe to Chenrezig, all your enjoyments, all your love, the love that's in your heart. And make a request for the life of your teachers to be long and all beings to be happy and comfortable, for us to be able to accumulate merit, to be able to purify all our obscurations and attain enlightenment, and just bless our minds to become Dharma, the Dharma to become the path. And any hindrances in the path that may occur, maybe they just vanish. And may I cease all the wrong conceptions in my mind, like that. And imagine Chenrezig's very pleased with this request and descends from being in front of you to the crown of your head. So imagine now you have this Avalokiteshvara standing on the crown of your head, this amazing light body. So how we're going to do this meditation now is I'll recite the verse and we'll just focus on the meaning. And with each verse, visualize a stream of blissful white nectar pouring down from the syllable Shri at Avalokiteshvara's heart, and it flows into your body through the crown of your head and fills you completely, purifying all your negativities and obscurations and bringing all the realizations, in particular the obscurations and realizations mentioned in the verse we're meditating on. So the first one, with the thought of attaining enlightenment for the welfare of all beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. So now just imagine all that light pouring into you. And you know, the living beings are precious because without them, we would have no opportunity to develop generosity, love, patience, and other altruistic qualities, or to overcome our selfishness. So the nectar from Chenrezig purifies the self-cherishing thought that prevents me from holding others more dear and bestows the realization of cherishing others more than myself. And the second one. Whenever I'm with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all. And from the depths of my heart, I will hold others dear and supreme. So this is a powerful way to counteract our habitual tendency toward finding fault in others and criticizing them. Instead, we should continually recognize their good qualities and their potential and recall our own faults and shortcomings. So the nectar purifies pride and self-cherishing and brings the realization of compassion, bodhicitta, which regards others as dear and supreme. Or I think maybe we could say in our own language, more important than us. So let's just meditate for a minute or two on that. Imagine the light pouring into you. In all actions, I will examine my mind, and the moment a delusion arises endangering myself and others, I will confront and avert it without delay. And this verse stresses the importance of mindfulness, which is what we're doing right now. Throughout the day, in everything we do, working, talking, watching television, meditating, we should be aware of what's happening in our mind. And whenever a negative thought, like anger or jealousy or pride or bitterness or grudges arises, we should take note of it and recognize it and then try and deal with it as best as possible. So if we don't practice like this, delusions are going to remain in the mind, and this habit thinking that we have is going to kind of keep reinforcing our delusions as being something that is real. And they get stronger and they pollute the way we see the world. They pollute our body, they pollute our mind, they pollute our energy. So the nectar purifies the obscurations that prevent me from confronting and dealing with unsubdued thoughts and brings a realization of bodhicitta, the wisdom of emptiness. And these extinguish such thoughts. So meditate on that for a couple of minutes. Whenever I meet a person of bad nature, this is number 4, who is overwhelmed by negative energy and intense suffering, I shall hold such rare ones dear as if I'd found a precious treasure. And this is a hard one. So you can maybe bring to someone to mind who irritates you like crazy because of their behavior. I can think of several politicians right now. We love to criticize the politicians. But actually, people like this are teaching us about our own minds. So it's not very difficult to have positive feelings towards people who are kind and good-natured. But our love is really put to the test when we meet someone who's got this really negative energy and who's kind of like rude or crass, because they give us a chance to see how strong our patience and compassion are. It kind of brings us down to earth as far as our spiritual development is concerned. And we should regard those people as rare and precious. And the nectar purifies the self-cherishing thought that prevents me from regarding harmful beings as precious and dear, and brings the realization of bodhicitta, which holds even harmful beings dear. You might notice these are getting more and more difficult as we move on. When others, out of jealousy, mistreat me with abuse, slander, and scorn, I will practice accepting defeat and offer the victory to them. So when someone criticizes us to our face or behind our back, we should not angrily try to defend ourselves or hurl abuse back at them. Instead, we should remember that any bad experience is the natural outcome of our own past actions. And we can possibly bring to mind instances where we have criticized others. And we can try to talk with the person who is complaining, not with anger, but compassion, to maybe get them to calm down and think more positively. But if they refuse to be reasonable, we should just let go and accept the situation. Anyway, it's good to listen with a mind open to criticism. It's often correct and can teach us something about ourselves. So imagine the nectar purifying the self-cherishing thought that prevents me from accepting defeat and giving the victory to others, and brings the realization that enable me to do this. So just this one little story Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to tell. There's this Australian man, and he had a really nice car, and his next door neighbor was keying it. And he couldn't understand why. And, he got his Dharma friends together, and they sort of said, well, what do you think Lama Zopa Rinpoche would do? And one of them said, oh, I know what he would do. He would give him a gift. So this student of Rinpoche's knew that his next door neighbor loved to play golf. So he got him a really, really nice quality golf ball and wrapped it up beautifully and took it over and I think gave it to him. not sure exactly how the story goes, but the next thing I think was this man was just turned up at his house beaming with the package open and just said to him, all is forgiven. So, I mean, this person had no idea what he'd done necessarily, but it fixed the problem. And I had a similar problem myself. I was checking out at our local organic health food store. So, I think maybe almost a year ago, if not more. You know, we're all still wearing face masks. The pandemic was still on. It must have been 21. And I had earphones in my ears. And I didn't quite understand what the checkout guy was saying. He didn't quite understand me. I had a face mask on. So we had this enormous miscommunication. He got very frustrated and actually walked away from the till. And I was so shocked at his inability. He just was so frustrated with me. And I just was feeling really uncomfortable. I didn't sort of know what to do. And then I remembered this story about the golf ball. So I bought him a cup of coffee. The next day I went and got him a latte. They have really nice coffee there. So I asked someone to find him and give it to him. And then the next time he saw me, he's like my best friend there now. It was just so easy to fix that with a cup of coffee. And just by offering up the victory. When someone I have benefited and in whom I have placed great trust hurts me very, as you can see, this is getting harder, hurts me very badly, I will practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher. So every good or bad experience that occurs in our life is the result of our past actions. Karma, always karma. So there is really no such thing as undeserved harm. This idea may be difficult to accept, especially when the harm comes from someone we've helped and from someone who we expect to at least give us some sort of gratitude. But it is a question of becoming familiar with the law of cause and effect. We must necessarily have created the cause to be harmed. Also, if we have a good understanding of the importance of developing patience, we will be able to see that someone who harms us is giving us a valuable teaching on the spiritual path. So imagine here the nectar purifying the self-cherishing thought that prevents me from regarding harmful beings as my spiritual teachers and brings the attainment of the Bodhisattva's perfection of patience, which enables me to do this. The perfection of patience leads to being beautiful in the next life. And the perfection of patience means patience in the face of harm. Patience in the face of difficulties and not knowing how to do things. Patience in the face of things that are unfair. And then you need the wisdom to know whether it's most beneficial to act with patience or to not act. In short, I'll offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers. I'll practice in secret, taking upon myself all their harmful actions and suffering. The essence of thought transformation is exchanging self for others. And we did this meditation yesterday, Tonglen. Replacing the attitude of cherishing oneself with that of others, cherishing others. Normally, we think about making ourselves happy and avoiding problems, even if it means hurting others. But here we reverse our priorities. We aspire to give happiness to others and to take on their problems, indifferent to our own welfare. This meditation is an internal one involving a change in our state of mind, and is therefore a secret, not something that everyone can see us practicing. So this might, for some of you, this might be the first time you've heard about this. So if you're curious about it, you can just Google Tonglen and see what you find. And this nectar purifies the self-cherishing thought that prevents me from taking upon myself all beings' harmful actions and sufferings, and brings the realization of bodhicitta, which offers happiness to them and takes on their suffering. So that's just a mental exercise. You don't go around taking on people's suffering unless you're actually qualified to do so. We can start by practicing on our own tomorrow's headache or our own problem of tomorrow, taking on that ourselves. And then you can move to a loved one, taking on the loved one's headache, offering them your peace of mind and health. And then you move on to the one you don't like, which is a bit difficult. And then you move on to the stranger. So it's a process, it doesn't happen. It sounds very high and lofty and grand, but it doesn't happen quickly or easily. And 8, through perceiving all phenomena as illusory, I will keep these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and free from clinging, I'll release all beings from the bondage of the disturbing unsubdued mind and karma. So when our motivation for doing something involves any of the 8 worldly concerns, attachment to pleasure, praise, gain, and fame, aversion to pain, blame, loss, and notoriety, the action is non-dharma, non-spiritual. By realizing the illusory, dreamlike nature of all things and all situations, we naturally learn to let go and cling less tightly to such worldly concerns. And the final aim of this practice is to free ourselves from ignorance, self-cherishing, and all negative energy in order to help others become free too. So imagine the nectar purifies the self-cherishing thought and self-grasping ignorance that prevent me from seeing all things as illusory, and brings the realization of emptiness, which frees me from the bondage of the unsubdued mind and karma. So now we make a little request to Chenrezig from the depths of our heart, and request, please extend your holy hand and lead me and all beings to the blissful pure realm after this life. Please be our spiritual friend in all lives and lead us quickly to enlightenment. Imagine Chenrezig, also this is the mind of your teacher, accepts your request, and a stream of nectar flows from his heart into you, completely filling your body and your mind. And all your obscurations and negative imprints and diseases are purified instantly, and your body becomes crystal clear. Imagine that. And then imagine Chenrezig just absorbs into your heart. This light body absorbs into your heart. And imagine that now you are one with the same qualities of Chenrezig, your body, your speech, your mind, one indistinguishably with Chenrezig's holy body, holy speech, and holy mind. And imagine you're surrounded in all directions by sentient beings, the ones you love, the ones you don't love, and all the strangers, all the animals, all the insects and the fish, the mammals in the ocean. And we'll just recite Om Mani Padme Hum. And as we recite that, you can imagine countless light rays of radiating from your heart. Each has a tiny Chenrezig at its tip, And these compassionate Buddhas settle above the heads of all the sentient beings and with streams of nectar purify their negativities and obscurations. And finally, they absorb into the sentient beings who also become one with Chenrezig. So we'll just do that again. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme. Everyone. That was a bit of an advanced meditation. I hope it wasn't too much for you all. Did you enjoy it? You did. Okay. Something to think about. So, I mean, you just start. You just start somewhere, and then if you are curious, just go online and you can kind of look into it a little bit further. So thank you very much. And everyone, this is the end of session 4. We lost someone. Who did we lose? We lost a person. Never mind. Don't know who it was. Can't remember. Oh, I know who it was. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just dedicate all the positive energy we've created this afternoon, all these different meditations, many, many thoughts in our mind. We've packed a huge amount into these 2 hours. So thank you for coming along this journey with me. Thank you, Ocean of Compassion, for giving me this opportunity. These meditations are so helpful to me personally to actually even deliver them, because I learn so much every time I do it. And my own practice goes deeper. So I'm extremely grateful to all of you for turning up and offering your concentration and your beautiful Saturday afternoon to come and do this practice. So thank you so much for that. And then let's just dedicate all the positive energy that we've created today, all the effort that you've put in to your, of course, we can dedicate for Millie's and John's dear friend who passed away. And think also of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Just make a strong wish for His Holiness to have a long life, to continue teaching, for the swift return of our teacher, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and for any of your own precious teachers that, you take benefit, you have benefit from, that you listen to, that are helping you, guiding you. So just make strong prayers for them to live long. Okay, so we're at the end of today's session, and I will see you all next week, which is the 5th. Let me tell you what we're doing. Again, can't remember. Somewhere. Hang on 1 second. Let me see what we're doing next week. We're looking at more like functional thinking. We're still on the mind. 1 second, I can tell you. Got the pause. Just wait. Sorry. It's gone. Here we are. Yeah, we're just doing functional thinking. We're still going to be on the mind. Of course, this is what we're dealing with. We're going to do a little bit of analytical meditation, and we're going to do some loving kindness for self and others next week as well. So we're going to keep looking at the mindfulness of thoughts, analysis, functional thinking, productive thinking as opposed to non-productive thinking, and a little bit of loving kindness. So look forward to seeing you all then. And I might do a shorter Chenrezig meditation. That one was quite long, but I wanted to introduce you to this 8 verses of thought, mind transformation. It's quite beautiful. Anyway, lots of love, everybody. Thank you so much for hosting, Urs. And I'll see you all next week. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Lots of love, everyone.
Thank you, Venerable Katie.